medical practice in each country, each healthcare system. And it is one of the main problems which have to decide practical physician of any specialty. This evaluation, expert evaluation of workability, helps to solve these problems. Maximal long-term continuing of occupational or professional activity, and also can solve the problems of disease, prevention of any diseases development, reducing of morbidity and disability. Let's give the definition of workability as a universal property of human organism. One of important characteristics of our functioning. It is the condition of our organism which combining physical and mental possibilities permits to perform the work of definite volume and quality. Disorder of workability or loss of work capacity, it is the state caused by diseases, traumas, its or other reasons, then the of occupational responsibilities impossible totally or partially. This limitation may be during the definite limited period or constantly. Let's discuss, I'll inform you with 3 categories of labor or conditions for work. First is optimal conditions for work. Second, permissible conditions for work. Then the level of environmental factors and labor process doesn't exceed the established hygienic norm. Temperature of air, humidity, or maybe radiation ionizing. And third category of labor, harmful working conditions, then we can detect the presence of harmful factors. Those levels exceed health standards and have an adverse effect on the human health. On the human body. Increased or very high or very low temperature, high or low humidity, presence of dust in the working air, and some other factors. According to classification of working conditions, intensity of labor, we can divide all kinds of work. We can divide on work with significant physical exertion, labor with significant physical exertion, when workers have to lift and move heavy loads over 10 kilograms for women and over 20 kilograms for men constantly throughout the working day, during their working day. And then they are being in a standing position more than 80% of the working time. It is significant, the work labor with significant physical exertion. Minors. Second category of labor, work with moderate physical exertion, which is lifting and moving heavy loads up to 7 kilograms for women, 15 for men during working day. Being in standing position to 60% of the time. And there's one category, work with mild, not so serious physical exertion, when they're lifting, moving heavy loads up to 3 kilograms for women and up to 5 kilograms for men throughout the working day, and being in standing position to 40% of the working time. Or occupation with mild physical exertion. For example, sports coach, football team coach. A loss of workability may be temporary and may be persistent. In this picture, you can see cause such as fracture of temporary disability. This person, elderly person, his disability is persistent already due to chronic serious disease. Maybe COPD or chronic heart failure. Now, let's give the definition of temporary disability. Temporary disability is the state of human body caused by diseases of injuries or other reasons for which the disruption of body is accompanied by loss of work ability to carry out professional activity. Which is reversible and short duration with favorable clinical and occupational prognosis. It was definition of temporary disability. Main characteristics here of temporary disability are reversibility, short duration of functional disorders, and favorable clinical and occupational prognosis. According to statistical data, temporary disability develops with 60–80% of all patients. They are treated preferably on outpatient level. Temporary disability we can divide on two parts, total and partial. As for total temporary disability, it is disability then Patient temporarily cannot work and needs in special regime. Possible causes of this disability are acute diseases, acute respiratory viral infections, including COVID infection, and exacerbation of any chronic diseases. For example, peptic ulcer, chronic bronchitis exacerbation, and some others, arthritis. As for partial temporary disability, it's a state then a patient cannot perform work in his main profession, but he may perform work of low qualification without dangers to his health. For example, car driver with broken hand can't work as driver few weeks, but he can work as coach, as teacher in special school for driving. And he can participate in some repairment, car repairment. It means partial temporary disability. Main causes of temporary disability are disease, viral infections, and chronic exacerbation, such as bronchitis, peptic ulcer, hypertensive crisis, and some other. Trauma. Different traumas can cause temporary disability, even permanent disability. Professional disease due to influence of some harmful factors on working place, or due to maybe intoxication. Complex diagnostic procedures, participation in complex diagnostic procedures such as which require definite time for observation of patients before, which can require some period of time for preparation to any procedure, and definite period of observation after procedure. For example, procedure of fibrocolonoscopy or coronary angiography and others. As one cause of temporary disability is nursing for sick family members. Usually it's nursing for senior family member, but sometimes for child. Pregnancy and childbirth, early period of childbirth, it's also causes of temporary disability. And post-partum complications. Now it's actual problem due to very intensive amount of vaccination cases every day against COVID-19. Quarantine, it's also associated with current reality. Quarantine, for example, 2 weeks after contact with sick person, sick of COVID-19, or quarantine when we will contact, then we will have contact with other infectious person. infected by other disease. Which document can confirm temporary working ability, so-called sick leave certificate or sick list? You can see here the full process of fulfillment, the real medical certificate. It's printed form, but now is of course electronic form, which we can send by mail. And now I want to show you so-called workability index, which we can apply for examination and determination of workability index. It contains 7 questions. The scale includes 7 questions. For example, current workability compared with lifetime best. The patient should use his own answer according specific recommended point. Here you can see average workability index according to occupation and patient's gender between 30 to 64 years old. As we can see here, workability index highest for men, managers and senior officials. And other professionals also high, so significant, so high estimation they have. Also very high nurses, no, your attention, nurses for men, nurses most highest, 42.4 points. Repairman for men, for women also more than 40, office and customer service clerks, other professionals, and salespersons. Salespersons and also nurses. What does mean disability? Disability, World Health Organization estimates that almost 15% of world's population has a disability or permanent disability. In Russian Federation, about 60% of population have some degree of disability, and the number of lost years of working lives was 10 years in 100 people. According to the agents of social protection, not less than 15 million people are disabled. So they have persistent disability. Persistent disability is social fail. Its definition, please write it and try to remember. Okay, words are underlined here. Social failure due to health problems with the persistent disorder of body functions leading to the limitation of vital. Persistent disability, a long term of permanent disability caused by illness, injury, which led to prolonged disruption of body functions. And again, I will underline the main criteria of persistent disability. There are chronologically, first criteria is persistent disorder of body functions or persistent functional disorder or disorders. Chronologically, second criteria is limitation or limitations of vital activities. It is the second criteria. And third is social failure or social dependence from other persons. And necessity in social protection. It's also consequence of social failure. Social protection, it's a system of constant government guaranteed and or long-term economic, social and legal measures to ensure that people with disabilities to overcome the conditions, substitutions of compensation disability, and aimed at the creation of equal opportunities with other citizens to participate in social life. It's a very important characteristic of modern society. Modern independent democratic society. Let's try to analyze main definitions of disability concept. On first place stands disorder of health. Disorder of health or disease. This is physical, mental, and social disadvantage associated with the loss, abnormality, disorder of psychological, physiological, anatomical structure, and or the functions of the human body and the need of its social protection or assistance. Some important integral statistical index of severity, persistent health problem associated with disability. It calls life expectancy with disability in years. Or maybe more famous as disability adjusted life years, dailies. It is the sum of years of life lost from premature mortality or due to living with a disability. On this picture, you can see demonstration of some diagram which illustrates that expected years with disability is 65 years, different time periods, each year. It was performed studies. Orange color, it's expected years with disability. We can see that this age, this duration increased for period of 5 years, 5 years period. It's increased. And green color parts of age diagram indicates on the level of disability-free life expectancy at 65 years. And according to this diagram, were confirmed decreased disability-free life expectancy contract after 65 years. Now let's enumerate main causes of persistent disability. There are general diseases such as arterial hypertension, stroke, MI, occupational diseases such as pneumoconiosis, vibrational disease, ionizing radiation damages, employment, injury or traumas on working place, disability since childhood, disability associated with fighting or military activity, and disability associated with effects of ionizing radiation for nuclear station workers. Among all diseases which can cause disability, more than 50% are cardiovascular diseases, especially MI and stroke. On the second place, 10% cancer, different location, and around 6% each other causes disorders such as nervous system, peripheral and central, injuries, mental, psychological disorders, respiratory disease such as bronchial asthma, tuberculosis, gastrointestinal such as peptic ulcer, musculoskeletal system problems, for example, poliomyelitis, paralysis due to poliomyelitis. Now I will enumerate for you main types of persistent functional disorders as first and main basic criteria of disability.